Here to break down the 2016 race is our senior political editor, Steve Chigueras. Steve, how does Sarah Palin's endorsement impact the campaign, not only of Donald Trump, but also Ted Cruz?
I think first it impacts Ted Cruz more. I think this is a blow to Ted Cruz. This is somebody that he would like to have had supporting him. She is still, even though she's sort of old news, she's still a representative of the anti-establishment, grassroots, very conservative wing of the Republican Party, and having her out there on your side is not a bad thing. Now, not the fact that she didn't support him or didn't endorse him and she endorsed Trump, I think what it does is it takes attention away now from Ted Cruz, and it's just another example of him having trouble getting his message out in these final weeks before Iowa. He's had to talk about his citizenship. He's had to talk about these loans from his Senate campaign, and now he's on the back burner behind Donald Trump and Sarah Palin taking all the headlines.
Steve, Hillary Clinton's campaign put out an email with a picture of Palin and Trump together. It reads, "Donate to make sure this is nothing more than a bad SNL skit come to life." Could Palin's support outside of Iowa become a liability to Trump?
Well, that's going to be interesting to look at. So I think within the Republican primaries, it'll be just fine. It'll be interesting to see how he deploys her. He's taking her on the road in Iowa today, and then Oklahoma later today, and then we don't know where she's going to be used in terms of the Trump campaign moving forward. Maybe this is just a short-term play for him to eat up a couple of news cycles and take some attention away from Ted Cruz. Maybe it's somebody he's going to send out there and campaign on his behalf down south for the Super Tuesday primaries on March 1st. We don't know yet. I think within the Republican primaries, it'll be just fine for him. But I think at some point, he's going to have to basically put her back, where she came from. I think in a general election situation, she's not going to be very helpful to him as the Republican nominee if he is the nominee.
Steve, conservative columnist David Brooks wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. It's getting some attention, and in it, he says that it is time for a Republican conspiracy, and he's calling for a grassroots conservative moment to ensure that neither Donald Trump nor Ted Cruz wins the nomination. What do you make of that call, and what does it say about potentially some Republicans and how they're looking at the polls right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of frustration among establishment Republicans. They're looking at the top two people in this race, Ted Cruz, who really has very few friends, if any, in Washington, and Donald Trump, who is a total outsider, who's never really played by any of the rules of politics, and is sort of confounding the establishment as to how he's continuing to stay as strong as he is in this race. And so there's frustration that the establishment doesn't really have a voice this year. And so the reasons for that, I think, and Brooks doesn't mention this, are anger among Republican voters. And secondly, there's really not a great establishment option. You look at this field, this large field of candidates, and the establishment can't find somebody to get behind. It's Marco Rubio isn't catching fire. Jeb Bush is sinking. Chris Christie has his problems. John Kasich isn't necessarily in line with the party on some issues. And so there's nobody that they can really sort of rally behind. And so Brooks can call for this, this big rally of establishment folks to try to topple Cruz and Trump, but I just don't see where it comes from. Also, one thing to point out as well is if you look at the polls going back for months, the top three candidates in this race, Cruz, Trump, and Ben Carson, are totaling north of 60% of support among Republican voters. So they're in the minority. The establishment's in the minority this year, and unless they find a guy that they can get behind that is going to really challenge Trump and Cruz, I think they're just sort of on the sidelines on this one.
All right, Steve Chigueras, thank you so much.
Thanks.